animal welfare is the #1 priority for all livestock farmers. Because I also wanted to get to the bottom of another argument. We give the animals a good life. I mean, the UK has the best animal welfare standards in the world, significantly better than the US, Canada, France, Germany, and Australia. The National Farmers Union are quite proud of this fact, so if animals are going to get a good life anywhere, it's here. So I went undercover to a pig farm, and one thing I quickly discovered is there's 3 stages to the life of a pig. Stage 1, farrowing crates. Stage 2, weaner pigs. Stage 3, fattening pens. One of the rebuttals against veganism I hear is that as an individual you won't make any impact to learn. If everyone else continues eating animals, then what's the point? Staring into the eyes of this individual, I'd never felt more strongly against that sentiment. In fact, switching to a plant-based diet saves at least 100 animals a year, meaning thousands of animals over the course of a lifetime. Is that really not making a difference? That night, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't shake the last pig from my mind. The way they looked at me, they were the saddest eyes I've ever seen. I had so many other questions as well. What happened to the mum? Where was the enrichment I'd heard so much about? And why was I reading about cases of tail docking, teeth clipping, castration and thumping in the country with the highest welfare standards in the world? What even is thumping? I decided to call it night, reminding myself that these are indoor pigs. I know there's such a thing as outdoor bred pigs with better welfare standards, and that's what people frequently tell me they buy to avoid supporting factory farms. But the more I read, the more shocked I was. 98.3% of pigs in the US are factory farmed. In the EU, some people are prepared to pay more for it because they think it's better welfare. Are you seriously telling me this is the best quality of animal welfare in the world? When I was at the sanctuary, I got to see various other animals living out their best lives. And Catherine, who runs the sanctuary, also showed me some chickens I'd rescued from a nearby battery farm. At least, I thought they were from battery farms. I know chickens have it rough. They are the most abused land animal, with 180 million dying every day. I'd done my research on chickens long ago. I knew that 95% of broiler chickens were factory farmed in the UK, and a staggering 99.9% were in the US. I knew that caged hens only have the space equivalent to the size of an iPad. But because I knew that, I never bought caged eggs. I bought free range. Caged equals bad. Free range equals good, right? They don't suffer, they're free.
All of these chickens, whether they're coming from a caged farm, which we have rescued from, whether they're coming from a barn, where they just don't go outside but they're kept in a barn, or whether they're coming from free-range farms, and sometimes organic free-range farms that people think is the highest welfare imaginable, they all come with a lot of medical issues. A lot of them featherless, being pecked on by each other, red raw. They will have a lot of issues with their reproductive systems. They will have a lot that are egg bound, which means the eggs get stuck. They will have egg peritonitis, have a lot of prolapses. We have a lot of leg problems. So a lot of them will come in limping, a lot of broken legs, a lot of pulled muscles. Of course, the way, I don't know if people know this, but the way that is accepted that you pick chickens up is by the legs. So when you are collecting hens, they will bring out like 4 or 5 hens sometimes in one hand, held by their legs. And the DEFRA standard is that you're supposed to hold both legs.
Free-range birds bred for meat are kept alive a meagre 2 to 3 weeks longer in the UK than caged chickens. They only have to be kept outdoors for half their life, and when they're indoors, they're allowed to house 13 birds per square metre. That's only 4 less than the 17 limit for a caged chicken. The real kicker for the animal-loving vegetarian I grew up as was that free-range eggs meant that the hens could still be crammed with up to 9 chickens per square metre when indoors on a night, and that most egg-laying hens that don't die on farms are killed for meat at 72 weeks when they're not fit to lay anymore. It would seem to me that the egg industry is the meat industry. Do you think the public have any idea what goes on in free-range farms?
No. I mean, we didn't know. People think that free range equals high welfare, It depends what your definition of high welfare is.
So this is the second phase as it was described to me, because there's 3 phases. So do you want to tell us what's happening here then?
This is like a typical sort of weaner accommodation unit. That thing there is meant to be a toy. The flies are absolutely typical. That's such a standard thing to see. Feces all over the walls, all over the floor. Again, this looks like relatively decent compared to quite a lot of units that I've seen. Most of these pigs have sort of wounds on their flanks, which is from fighting. You're cramming them into these tiny little barren cells, and generally, so this looks like a typical sort of red tractor finishing unit. No wonder they're fighting, they've got nowhere to go.
And that ball there
Yeah.
is part of their enrichment then, I guess.
Yeah, so we can see on this one shot we've got a really filthy ball and a completely filthy plastic tube hanging up. Their tails are docked, so that's a mutilation done without anaesthetic.
And how do the piglets react?
Oh, they scream.
I've seen the term thumping thrown about as something done to pigs, but what is it?
Picking the piglet up by the back legs, swinging them over your shoulder and sort of just cracking their skull on the concrete or on the side of something.
And that's legal then?
That's legal. That's something I've done myself a lot.
But it is. While the Animal Protection Index scored the UK overall with a B for our animal welfare standards, largely because of our laws on protecting companion animals and those in captivity, for animals used in farming, we did score a D, the lowest grade of any area scored. Although globally, I was having a hard time finding a country that did score higher than a D for farmed animals. The US and Australia scored an E. What are they doing to their farmed animals there? I've read and heard a lot about antibiotic use in farming, but in the UK it's dropping, right?
The NFU puts out this big boast that we've reduced our usage by 53% over 2014 to 2018. And it kind of went down really quickly when we started monitoring what we were doing, and then it plateaued because we've reached a point where we couldn't physically use fewer antibiotics without all the animals just dying. They did a huge analysis on 139 different studies, and 72% of them said there was a confirmed clear link between use in livestock and resistance in humans.
When we go to hospital, we want the antibiotics that we're given to work. We want our loved ones to survive a sepsis. But as things are going, that's becoming increasingly unlikely because not only of the overuse of antibiotics in general, but specifically the overuse of them when we give them to animals for us to eat.
There was a previous figure quoted in the last sort of round of studies into this, that it would be 10 million deaths, a predicted 10 million deaths a year from antibiotic-resistant infection by 2050. And the fact that we've intensified our agriculture and we're pumping over 70% of the world's antibiotics into livestock in very inappropriate ways just means that it's skyrocketing much quicker than we were sort of planning for.
Now that really pissed me off. There's someone very close to me that requires antibiotics on a daily basis to survive. 20 of the 27 antibiotics prescribed to animals are vital for humans to be treated with. But I couldn't stop. There was so much more to learn. Next stop, the slaughterhouse. I've never been to a slaughterhouse. I couldn't tell you where the nearest one is to me, despite the fact that there were over 150 in the UK and 2,700 in the US.
Slaughterhouses are so hidden from society. Many have got 24-hour security, high perimeter fences. You could be mistaken they were prisons.
So what's it like inside?
A heavy stench of death is the only way to describe this disgusting and suffocating smell that lingers. Once you've experienced it, the smell, you cannot forget it.
The sounds and smells I still get, they stick with you.
Kill room's something out of a horror film with remnants of blood pooling around floor drains. Knives all lined up ready for the next day's killing. The floors are often still wet where workers have tried to power wash away all the blood and remains. The bins full with body parts.
The number of animals that need to be killed for a start just negates any kindness and gentle handling.
But how are they killed? What are the common practices? What makes it humane? Cows are stunned using a captive bull or electricity. Poultry are hung upside down and dipped into an electrified water bath to stun them, before their throats are slit. Sheep are stunned and killed with electricity, but just like this one here, it's not always a quick process. Fish are exposed to carbon dioxide, bled out without stunning, gutted alive, or suffocated out of water. And what about pigs? How do we get bacon? It's either a CO2 gas chamber, or electrical stunning, followed by sanguination, then transported to a scalding tank.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen pigs swimming around in that, like bleeding to death.
I often ask myself, would this be okay if I was doing this to a human?
I've asked everyone I've spoken to whether they think humane slaughter is possible in today's global farming system. I've asked activists, the RSPCA, vegans, vegetarians and omnivores. I could go through every answer one by one, but I think you already know it. And what of the human toll, working in these surroundings with these animals? What are the physical and psychological effects?
Colleagues there who were who'd get frustrated with the animals and take it out on them, take it out on each other.
Going home, absolutely traumatised, like calling my mum, sobbing on the phone, saying I've had to shoot another 20 pigs because of these welfare issues.
I'd go out, it got to a stage where if someone looked at me, I'd probably go over and headbutt them.
Fii foarte tare de fire. Eu la câte animale am omorât, nu știu cum mă rabdă Dumnezeu pe pământul ăsta.
As the UK and other nations struggle to fill this sector, it's perhaps unsurprising that the meat industry is heavily reliant on migrant workers, willing to work for far more money than they could ever earn in their country of birth, creating two-tier working conditions with migrants being paid less and expected to work more to ensure that the meat can be kept cheap and to supply the demand.
I think I've found peace with myself over the...
After the animals have been killed, what's the meat line like?
For starters, there's a lot of diseases that we can pick up from pigs and other animals anyway that, like, you can't see pathogens.
48 million people get sick in the US each year with foodborne illnesses. Nearly 3/4 of all chicken sold in UK supermarkets have previously been found to be contaminated with Campylobacter. And in the US, 60% of pork, 70% of beef, and 80% of chicken is contaminated with E. coli. It's not just pathogens either. When the UN published its list of the 7 causes driving the risk of zoonotic diseases, 6 of them were linked to animal agriculture. After the cows and sheep and pigs and all the other farmed animals are slaughtered, we have our beef, our lamb, our bacon. But is it actually any good for us? If we were to take alcohol, something which most people wouldn't constitute to be healthy, but manage to add the likes of some branched-chain amino acids and iron to it, would that suddenly make it healthy? So why does a food that the World Health Organization categorises as a carcinogen or probable carcinogen suddenly become healthy because it contains the likes of protein and iron when these are readily available from non-carcinogenic foods?
Again, it comes back to thinking about the healthy food rather than the individual nutrients.